Hi guys, so behind me I've got what we call a high wire feeder, and this is something that we've used on carnivores and equines and all sorts of other species. And the idea is that you have a high tensile steel cable with a pulley on it, which you then hang food off, whatever that food is, whether it's browse or meat or whatever it might be. So I just wanted to go over with you exactly how this thing is actually put together. So it's made up of several different parts. So first of all, you've got the high tensile steel cable itself. So at the moment this isn't tight. I'm going to show you how this gets tight in just a moment. But this one I believe is either 6 or 8 mil. Regardless, it takes an awful lot of weight. You're looking at tons that this can take. So this is absolutely perfect for the leopards that this enclosure is at the moment. So in order for it to actually attach together, at the very end here we have something called an eye bolt, and this eye bolt is actually put through the wood, and once again that takes an awful lot of strength. So the idea is that that will then hold the cable at either end. So obviously it's got to be the same height at either end, otherwise you're going to end up on a slope. This thing here, this is the most important part. So if it's on a smaller one, we use something called a turnbuckle, but because this is a much longer cable, we want it to be very strong. This is called a rigging screw. So both of them do exactly the same thing, and the idea is that you have this central point here which turns, this bit at the end here which attaches into the eye, and this bit at this end which attaches onto the cable. Both of these have a thread on them, and as you turn this, it either brings these two together or pushes it apart. So the idea is that you start off with them apart, get all of your cable put in place, and then you actually turn it, and that will then make sure I'm going the right direction. Here we go. So then as you turn it, this will then start to pull this cable tighter as these two screws at either end go together. And it does have a hole through the center of it here, so if it gets to a point where it's too tight, you can just put a screwdriver, or there are actually special tools for this, through there to actually then help you turn this up. But for the purpose of this, I'm literally just going to keep on turning it by hand, and hopefully we might have to get a screwdriver, but you can see this cable is obviously already an awful lot tighter on here. So to attach the cable onto this, onto the rigging screw, basically the cable goes along here, it goes around this little metal thing here called a thimble, and then back onto itself, and it goes through these ferrules. Now in order to actually tighten these ferrules up, basically you have a special ferrule clamp. You can't really do it any other way, so it's a special tool which literally squeezes these together. In all honesty, you actually only really need 2 of these on here, but I like a little bit of safety, so we put 3 of them on here just in case. And the idea is that that cable now cannot slide out of there and back on itself. So if you don't want to use the ferrules to actually attach the wire together, you can actually just use these wire rope clamps here, and they're very simple. You know, you just basically tighten up these, but we prefer the ferrules mainly because they're actually a lot stronger, a lot safer, and they're permanent as well. And then to actually attach the food onto here, we use this thing here. So this is a Petzl tandem pulley, and obviously this actually runs along the wire once it's nice and tight. And this will easily take a good sort of ton and a half. So once again, most of the animals that you're working with, this is going to be absolutely fine for. And we just once again use a snap hook through the bottom of that, which you would then use something to attach the food onto. So working with carnivores, you're going to want something coming off of this, which would wrap either around the meat or through the meat to hold onto it, because obviously you don't want them to be able to pull the meat off easily. Everything that you potentially use there comes with its own sort of pros and cons. So some people prefer using chain, which is great because the risk of using rope might be that the rope gets blood on it, and there's potential then that the animals might try and sort of ingest that. Some people prefer using rope because of the risk of using chain. They might obviously potentially get their teeth, you know, sort of chipped on it. I've never experienced that myself, but once again, it's completely up to everybody to sort of weigh up the pros and cons. There's obviously ways of making things safer as well. So if you are using chain or even rope, you could actually put a sheath of fire hose over it or some kind of PVC. So there's once again, you know, there's different ways of actually making these things safe. So once again, that's kind of down to you to weigh up. So what we're going to do is in the comments below, I'm going to put a list of all of the things that we use to actually build this in the comments again. Or of course, you can just get in touch with us and we'll come and build it for you, a little bit like we did with this amazing leopard one here. So yeah. Email us basically at info@teambuilderwithbike.com, or just comment below and we'll get back to you. Cheers guys.